They called him adorable, but his story is anything but cute. Adrien Adonis battled addiction and a tragic end. This is a raw, unfiltered look at a wrestling legend they tried to silence. Now, if you weren't around in the 80s, you might not know Adonis. He was a big deal in the WWF, known for his incredible athleticism and later his outrageous, adorable Adrian Adonis persona. But his story is more than just wrestling moves and flamboyant outfits. It's a story of talent, tragedy, and the challenges of being different in a world that wasn't always ready for it. Adonis started his career as a tough, brawling wrestler. He was a powerhouse in the ring, known for his strength and agility. He wrestled all over the world, gaining fame and a reputation as a formidable opponent. But things changed when he joined the WWF. Vince McMahon, the mastermind behind the WWF, wanted larger-than-life characters. So Adonis underwent a transformation, becoming adorable Adrian Adonis. He donned pink tights, carried a spray bottle filled with perfume, and even had his own talk show segment called The Flower Shop. Now, this was the 80s, and the adorable gimmick, while popular with some fans, was also super controversial. Many saw it as a harmful stereotype of gay men. Looking back, it's definitely a complicated issue. Adonis himself was married to a woman and had children, but his character played into outdated and offensive ideas about gender and sexuality. But the controversies didn't stop there. Adonis struggled with drug addiction, a problem that was sadly common in the wrestling world back then. This led to some erratic behavior and even a backstage fight with another wrestler. And then there was the sudden end to his WWF career. Officially, he was fired for dress code violations, but many believe it was his controversial gimmick and backstage problems that really got him in trouble. It's a shame because Adonis was incredibly talented. He could have been one of the all-time greats, but his career was cut short. He left the WWF and wrestled for a while in other promotions, trying to get back on track. But on July 4th, 1988, his promising life and career were cut short in a devastating car accident. Let's talk about what happened and remember the legacy he left behind. It all happened during a trip in Newfoundland, Canada. Adonis was traveling with three other wrestlers in a rented van. They had just wrapped up a wrestling event in Lewisport and were heading to their next destination. The time was early morning, and the stretch of road they were on, the Trans-Canada Highway, was known for being remote and sometimes dangerous. While driving, the van suddenly collided with a moose. Now, for those unfamiliar, hitting a moose isn't like hitting a smaller animal. Moose are huge, and the impact can be catastrophic. After hitting the moose, the van went out of control, veering off the road and crashing into a shallow brook. The crash was brutal. Adrian Adonis, the driver Victor Arco, and another wrestler, Dave McKigney, all lost their lives. Tragically, Adonis suffered severe head injuries and died at the scene. The only survivor of the accident was William Arco, who, while injured, managed to survive the ordeal. The news of the accident sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. Fans, wrestlers, and industry insiders were devastated by the loss of not just Adrian Adonis, but also Victor Arco and Dave McKinney. It's a reminder of how quickly life can change and how even larger-than-life figures like Adonis are not immune to tragedy. Adonis left behind a wife and two young children, making the loss even more personal and painful for those close to him. He was only 34 years old, so young, with so much left to give, both professionally and personally. Tragedies like this remind us of the fragility of life. Adrian Adonis had so much more to give, both in wrestling and as a family man. His untimely death left a hole in the industry and in the hearts of those who knew him. As fans, we can honor his memory by celebrating the moments he gave us, the matches, the characters, and the entertainment. So here's to Adrian Adonis, a wrestler gone too soon but never forgotten. Adorable Adrian Adonis. His real name was Keith Adonis Franca, but the world of wrestling knew him as Adrian Adonis, a man who went from being a tough, gritty wrestler to one of the most colorful and controversial figures in the 1980s wrestling scene. Let's take a look at his life, how he got his start, the ups and downs of his career, and the legacy he left behind. Keith Adonis Franca was born on September 15, 1953 in Buffalo, New York. He was adopted by Kenneth and Hortense Franca and grew up with two sisters, Karen and Susan. Like many kids growing up in Buffalo, He loved sports and showed a knack for wrestling early on. Keith was a star wrestler in high school. He was so good that he even won a big championship in 1970. Everyone knew he was tough and talented. But when it came to school, Keith just couldn't get into it. He found classes boring and eventually decided to drop out. For a little while, Keith tried his hand at football. He was pretty good at that too, and even played in the Canadian Football League. But something was missing. It just wasn't the right fit for him. Then Keith found what he was truly meant to do: professional wrestling. He started wrestling in 1974, using his real name. Like most new wrestlers, it took him some time to figure out who he wanted to be in the ring. He had to find his own style and personality. A few years later, he had a great idea. He decided to change his name to Adrian Adonis. And guess what? It totally worked. With a new name and a new attitude, Adrian became a famous wrestler. He joined the American Wrestling Association, where he met another wrestler named Jesse the Body Ventura. Adrian and Jesse were an awesome pair. They were complete opposites, which made them even more fun to watch. Jesse was from California and had a cool, laid-back style. Adrian was from the East Coast and was known for being tough and a bit of a troublemaker. Together, they became the East-West Connection and had many exciting matches. The East-West Connection became one of the top teams in the AWA and even won the AWA World Tag Team Championship. Fans loved their swagger, their teamwork, and their larger-than-life personalities. But like many partnerships in wrestling, it didn't last forever. Jesse Ventura's career was slowed by injuries, and Adonis had to move on. In the early 1980s, Adrian Adonis made his way to the World Wrestling Federation. Here he teamed up with Dick Murdoch to form another successful duo called the North-South Connection. As their name suggested, Adonis and Murdoch represented different styles and backgrounds. Murdoch with his Southern cowboy persona, and Adonis with his New York toughness. The pairing worked like magic. Together, they won the WWF Tag Team Championship and solidified their place as one of the top teams of the era. Adonis wasn't just a tag team specialist, though. He had the skills and personality to succeed as a solo wrestler, and soon he'd make a bold move that would change his career forever. In 1986, he surprised everyone by becoming adorable Adrian Adonis. Imagine a wrestler wearing pink outfits, bright makeup, and with colorful hair. It was a huge change from his tough guy image. Before this transformation, Adonis was already a star. He had been wrestling for years and was respected by fans for his abilities in the ring. He could compete with the best wrestlers around. In 1985, Adonis started experimenting with different styles. He briefly worked with a famous manager named Bobby the Brain Heenan. He even started using a new finishing move called the DDT. But this partnership didn't last. Soon he was traded to another manager, Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart wanted Adonis on his team, so he traded another wrestler, King Kong Bundy, to Bobby Heenan to get him. With Jimmy Hart by his side, Adonis's career took off. He entered a big wrestling tournament called the Wrestling Classic. He won his first match but lost in the next round. Even though he didn't win the whole thing, he impressed a lot of people. By 1986, Adonis was ready for a complete makeover. He became adorable Adrian Adonis, a character that no one could forget. He bleached his hair blonde and started wearing outrageous outfits. Think pink tights, leg warmers, scarves, and even dresses. He wasn't afraid to wear makeup and act silly. This new, flamboyant personality made him one of the most talked about wrestlers of the 80s. People loved to talk about how different he was. Some people loved it and some people hated it, but everyone was talking about it. He proved that wrestlers could be tough and entertaining at the same time. But then, Adonis decided to shake things up. He did a complete 180 with his image. He stopped lifting weights, ditched the tanning bed, and let himself go. He gained a lot of weight and his skin became pale. No more muscles and golden tan for Adonis. He became round and soft, looking more like a cuddly teddy bear than a wrestler. People were shocked by his transformation. But Adonis wasn't just about looks. He was a skilled wrestler, and he proved that his new appearance didn't slow him down one bit. He was just as quick and agile in the ring as he was before. He wrestled big names like Hulk Hogan and the Junkyard Dog, showing everyone that he was still a force to be reckoned with. Adonis also had a knack for stirring up drama. He started his own talk show called The Flower Shop, where he'd interview other wrestlers and poke fun at them. He loved to gossip, make snide comments, and generally get under people's skin. He even played a big role in starting a feud between two of the biggest wrestling stars at the time, Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff. Things got even more heated when another famous wrestler, Roddy Piper, returned from a break. Piper had his own talk show segment called Piper's Pit, and he and Adonis immediately clashed. They traded insults and pranks, with Adonis even ambushing Piper and wrecking his Piper's Pit set. This rivalry exploded at WrestleMania 3, one of the biggest wrestling events of the year. Adonis and Piper faced off in a hair versus hair match, where the loser would have his head shaved bald. The crowd went wild as these two rivals battled it out. In the end, Piper emerged victorious, and Adonis had his long blonde locks shaved off in front of everyone. A humiliating defeat. Shortly after that, Adonis left wrestling for a while. Adonis then returned to the American Wrestling Association, where he kept his adorable gimmick alive. This time, he was managed by Paul E. Dangerously, who later became famous as Paul Heyman. Adonis feuded with Tommy Rich and even made it to the finals of the AWA International Television Championship Tournament, though he lost to Greg Gagne. During his time in the AWA, Adonis worked hard to turn his career around. He shed over 100 pounds and hoped to make a comeback to the WWF. In 1988, Adonis took his talents to Japan, wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling. This was a fresh start for him, and he dropped the adorable gimmick for this tour. He teamed up with stars like Owen Hart and DJ Peterson, and even challenged for the IWGP Tag Team Championship alongside Dick Murdoch. Though he didn't win any titles in Japan, Adonis proved that he still had what it took to perform on a big stage. Adonis was working hard to rebuild his career and had plans to rejoin the WWF. But tragically, his journey was cut short in the summer of 1988. On July 4, 1988, Adonis was traveling in a minivan with fellow wrestlers Dave McKigney and twins William and Victor Arco in Newfoundland, Canada. While driving, Victor Arco, who was blinded by the setting sun, swerved to avoid a moose. The van plunged off a bridge into a creek below. The crash claimed the lives of Adonis, McKigney, and Victor Arco. William Arco was the sole survivor but suffered severe injuries. Adrian Adonis was just 33 years old. Adrian Adonis was more than just a wrestler. He was a showman, a trailblazer, and someone who left an indelible mark on the sport. His story reminds us of the incredible sacrifices wrestlers make, not just physically, but in how they dedicate their lives to entertaining the fans. If there's one thing we can learn from Adrian Adonis, it's that being different isn't a weakness. It's a strength. He dared to stand out, to take on a character that was bold and risky, and in doing so, he created moments that fans still talk about decades later. Wrestling has always been about creating memories, and Adonis gave us plenty of them. From his wild costumes and antics to his unforgettable rivalries and matches, he truly knew how to keep fans on the edge of their seats. So let's take a moment to appreciate the legacy of Adrian Adonis. His career may have been cut short, but his impact on wrestling will never fade. For fans who were lucky enough to see him perform, he's a legend. And for those discovering him for the first time, his story is a reminder of why we love wrestling: the drama, the characters, and the unforgettable moments. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Adrian Adonis. If you enjoyed this story, please give us a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Did you have a favorite Adonis match or moment? Or maybe another wrestler you'd like us to cover? Let us know. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the legends of wrestling. Until next time, keep cheering for the heroes, keep booing the villains, and most importantly, keep loving the stories that make wrestling so great. Thanks for watching.